Good. 28th of February, Rabbi Furst, Pierke Avos, Megilas Esther. And
Thank you, Lou.
to share. You can share now, Rabbi.
Okay, thank you. Mez Hashem. Oh, good. Okay, we'll put it on the Megilas Esther in a moment. Here we are, coming up momentarily. We are, I believe, in the third parak, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So,
end of the third. Actually, we came. Yeah, we're getting close to the end of the third parak. Let's see. 1 second. No, actually, in the middle. Let's see. We are in parak Gimel. Okay, Pasuk. Right. Pasuk Zion. Okay. Okay. Yes, we're in Perek Gimel Pasuk Zion. Yeah. Who would like to read? Any volunteers?
I do. B'chodesh Harishon, Hu Chodesh Nisan, Bishnas Shetem Esrei, Lamelech Achashverosh Hipil, Pur, Hu Hagoral Lifnei Haman, Miyom Liyom, Ume Chodesh Lechodesh, Shenem Asar Hu Chodesh Adar. So the first month, which is the month of Nisan, Bishnas Shtem, I don't know.
Bishnat in the year.
Oh,
Shtem Esther. In the 12, 2 and 10, 12th year.
Oh, Shtem Esrei. In the 12th year of King Achashverosh, he Pil Pur, he cast lots in a lottery. Lots were cast in a lottery before Haman. Each day and each month. For 12 until the 12th, which is the month of Adar.
Oh, so, right. So, first of all, we see this is now taking place in the 12th month of Achashverosh's rule. Now, remember that the Megillah opened in the third year of Achashverosh's rule, right?
Right.
So that's the 9 years later after the Mishteh. 9 years later, now Haman is now beginning to set the wheels of motion into the Gezerah against Klal Yisrael. 9 years later, 10 years after Haman became a slave to Mordechai, because that took place in the second year of Achashverosh's rule, and 9 years after the Mishteh, and he made the girl to the day and to the month, and it came out the girl in the 12th month. 12th month. Let's see what the commentaries say about that. A minute.
Okay, so Rebbe Yoshua Omer Ein Hara Viatzar Hara Ushnas Habrios Motziin Es ha'adam min ha'olam. So Rabbi Yoshua said, what is this hara, the wicked?
No, ayin hara.
Oh, ayin hara, v'yatzar, v'yetzer hara. The ayin hara and the yetzer hara, nas habrios,
Sinas Habrios.
and sinas habrios. So the yetzer hara and the ayin hara and the hatred of the world, motiin es ha'adam min ha'olam. They take a person out of the world. The ayin hara, the evil eye, and the yetzer hara, the evil inclination, and the hatred of the world, take a person out of the world.
Right.
I've never seen this term before. This shinas habrios.
Sinas Habrios, right.
Sinas.
Right. Sinas Habrios. Brios meaning people. Hate for people. Having a hate for people.
Right. I've never seen that before.
No? Okay.
Hatred of everybody in the world?
Well, in general, yeah. I mean, in general, Sinas Habrios, people, they dislike someone who dislikes people. You have people like that. That they, for some reason or other, don't enjoy, don't like people.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay, so what does that have to do with throwing lots?
so we have to try and understand. Remember that the previous psukim that that were made said in reference to Haman that Haman wouldn't be satisfied with simply destroying Mordecai, right?
Right.
He had a general hatred now for all Jews. Now, if you understand that he's a Molech, right? So a Molech in general doesn't have to have any real excuse for hating the Jews, but here the pasuk is saying that Haman would not be satisfied with simply destroying Mordecai. He had to destroy his whole people, right? That the only way he would take vengeance upon Mordecai is to take vengeance on his people as well. So it's an expression of the Sinas Habrios. Sinas Habrios, the general hatred for people, meaning it's strange to say that a person's going to be hating people in a global way for seemingly no reason whatsoever, right? Usually, a person you have such a concept as sinas chinam. You're familiar with that phrase, sinas chinam,
right?
So here, what could be the underlying cause of sinas habrios? Sinas habrios meaning even those people you don't really interact with, you don't have any association with, in ways that are not directly relating to you, to the person himself. Nevertheless, they have a sina for other people. So it's a.
But he didn't hate everybody. He just hated the Jews.
And but so that we have to think about. Meaning, we're going to try and keep our eyes on Haman throughout what the psukim say, and we have to see is Haman a type of a person who we just didn't like Jews, which would be classic behavior for the Malaki, or did he was someone who was not really happy with everybody, right? So we want as we're going to go through some more psukim, we're going to have to try and determine that as we go further in to the Megillah.
Uh-huh. I see.
Okay, so let's go continue on.
Vayomer Haman Lamelech Achashverosh Yeshno Am Echad Mifuzar Umeforad Dain Ha'amim Bechol Medinos Malchusecha Vida Sehem Shanos, I'm sorry, Shonos, Mikol Am, Ve'es Dasei, Hamelech Einam Osim, Ve'lamelech Ein Shoveh Laha Nisam. Okay, so Haman said to King Achashverosh, there is a nation, one nation. What is Mefuzar?
Would get scattered.
That's scattered. And Meforad.
And it's this, even though they're scattered, right? Even though they're scattered, but they're mefurad, there's like separate. Well, actually, mefurad, yeah, mefurad is scattered, mefuzah for scattered, and dispersed throughout your kingdom.
Dispersed. Amongst the nations, in all the provinces of your kingdom, and they know, but Dasehem, is that to know?
Well, das really means in this case like their religion, their faith.
And their faith, Shonot, Mikol Am. It's different from all the other nations.
Right. And their faith is different than all other people.
And the faith of the king, they don't follow.
And
Osim is what to do. They don't practice.
Right.
They don't practice the faith of the king, and the king Ein Shoneh Lahanisam. I don't know what's Shoneh.
Vilamelech, and for the king ain't shoveh. Shoveh, I mean, it's not worth anikam to have them be around. It's not shoveh.
Excuse me a minute, please.
Not worth the king's. It's not worth it for the king to keep them around. Anikam, to leave them.
I've got here befitting.
Mm-hmm.
It is not fitting the king to tolerate them.
All right. Good, very good.
Different.
Let's see 1 second.
Sorry about that. It was my doctor. I had to take the call.
Mm-hmm.
So, so what was Chauvin?
it's shove. It's not worth. It's not worth the king to keep him around.
Ah, to keep them.
La'anicham, like la'anicham, to keep them, right? Well, like Roy wants to has his commentary is not befitting. It's not befitting the king to keep them around.
Ah, okay, okay. All right, yeah, I see my English says it's not worthwhile for the king to tolerate them.
Okay, very good.
All right.
So the question here in this pasuk is this: Haman is saying this as a disgrace for Klal Yisrael, but it's really a shvach in certain ways, right? He's trying to use this. What Haman's doing is he's saying things about the Jews that are would not be favorable in the eyes of the king, right? But really, if you look at it, they're actually it's really a schwach in certain ways, no?
Yeah, well, the fact that they keep their own faith, and they don't follow the faith of the king is a good thing. It's kind of surprising to me because my understanding is that the reason that there's anti-Semitism is because we're doing the wrong thing. When we do the right thing, the anti-Semites are disarmed. They're just the wind is taken out of their sails. But this is actually saying that this is an anti-Semite who is accusing us of doing the right thing. Seems strange.
Right. It's the right thing in terms of the perspective of the Kadosh Baruch Hu, that we're Mefurad Mefuzar, we're a separate nation, right? And we keep our own laws, we keep our own faith. I mean, these are things which are beneficial from Kadosh Baruch Hu's point of view, but from the king's point of view, right? It's something which Haman was hoping to capitalize on, that there's something not in the benefit of the king, right?
But if they don't know what we believe in, then
right.
Then they're at a disadvantage, because our beliefs also benefit our hosts.
Right. So that's very true. However, that's why Haman has to put in this last sentence, that we're not keeping the king's laws, meaning we are keeping, on one hand, we're keeping to our own laws, but the fact that we're keeping to our laws, that is going to be unfavorable to the king, because since we're keeping our laws, we can't keep his laws, right? So therefore, Haman has to emphasize the fact that we're not obeying the king, because why? Because we have our own way of doing things, which is really in the world of truth, from the perspective of Hakadosh Baruch Hu, that's very good, that we have our own way of doing things, and we're keeping to doing the ways that we do things. And but never, they do ask the question, what kind of a taina, what kind of a claim is this that Haman is making here, that we keep we have our own das, meaning the Chinese have their own das, the Indians have their own das. Every people, every nation has its own way of doing things, right? Was Haman suggesting to Achashverosh that everything should be, all the cultures and nations and peoples of the world should be conglomerated and blended into one Persian mindset, and keeping the laws? Okay, you want to place laws upon people, so you want to place laws upon people for whatever reasons. So, but you really want them that they should all give up their own way of doing things and their own faiths and own beliefs? I don't know. That's the question. So that's asked. What was the claim that someone was making, that we have our own das? Every nation has its own way of thinking of things. Called das shaluma, and mashuna mezuzah. Everyone's different. All countries and peoples and cultures are always different than one from the next.
Mhm. But when it comes to the Jews, that's a different matter.
Well,
Yeah.
my English translates it a little bit differently. It says their ways are different from those of other nationalities, and they do not obey the king's laws.
Right.
So that would be a legitimate complaint.
Yeah, that's why he has to put that in it last. That's the last and most effective claim against Klal Yisrael in terms of the perspective of Achashverosh, right?
Right, but is that an accurate translation? Because the word date is used, is being translated as ways and then as laws.
Uh-huh.
So is that translation accurate? Really, that they have laws that are different, and they don't obey the. Well, I guess it doesn't matter if you translate it as laws. It's okay. They have laws that are different, and they don't obey the king's laws. Okay, that's legitimate,
Right.
and that would fit into my understanding of anti-Semitism, because the fact that, I mean, we have Dinim Chusadina. We're obligated to follow the laws of the land. So if we're not following the laws of the land, then we're doing the wrong thing according to Hashem.
Mm-hmm. Right. So now the question is, was when Haman said that we're not following the laws of the king, was that true? Were we not keeping the laws of Persia?
Well, I mean, the biggest defense we did was we went to the banquet, and that was a violation of the laws of Hashem, but not of the laws of Persia.
Right.
We were actually following the king's directive in that case.
Right.
That was our main avera.
Right. That was one of the major reasons of the Gezerah. Right.
Right. So based on that scanty little bit of evidence, I would say we were following the laws of the king.
Right. So now, in order to understand this this pasuk on a deeper level, so as you know that when it mentions Melech Achashverosh in the Megillah, that's a reference to the King Achashverosh, right? But since the name of a Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't appear right in the Megillah, right? So the word Melech, HaMelech, right? When it's Stam, when the reference is to the Melech Stam, I'm not sure if each and every time, but there are times when that's a reference to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. So here the claim that what Haman is saying to Achashverosh, he's speaking to Achashverosh, but what he's saying, as it's written in the Megillah, it's ve'ein date hamelech einu osam, and also the laws of the king they don't do, meaning that's a reference to Klal Yisrael klapi Kadosh Baruch Hu. L'melech ein shaveh l'ninachet, and it's not worth that the king, meaning a reference to Kadosh Baruch Hu, should keep them. Right, so that's an indictment against Klal Yisrael in terms of their relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu.
Right.
So
which fits because they attended the banquet.
Right, that's right. So that's the remez which is being mentioned here in the pasuk. I mean, he's also speaking to Achashverosh. I mean, these were ostensibly the words that Haman said to Achashverosh. But on the other hand, it's also the indictment which is being leveled against Klal Yisrael and Shemayim. Oh, so let's go to the next pasuk.
Im al hamelech tov yika save la'abdam va'a seres afilu alafim kikar kesef eshkol al yidei osei hamelacha v'havi es ginzei hamelech. Okay, so if it is good for the king, yikasev, I don't know.
That's the right to say to write.
To write a decree, la'abdam.
To destroy.
Oh, to destroy. Va'aseres alafim kikar kesef. And some number of thousands of blocks of silver. Eshkol al yidei osei hamelacha. So he's saying he will give a bunch of silver to the king.
Right.
Lahavi es ni ginzei hamelech. To bring the decree of the king.
No, well, Ginzei is the treasury. He's going to bring this money to be delivered to the treasury of the king. Meaning the king won't have to pick it up. Haman's going to arrange for this money to be brought to the treasury of the king.
Oh, Ginzei is treasury?
Yeah, from the Geniza.
Geniza, I thought Geniza was like a waste bin.
Well, no, Geniza is where you're familiar with it being used in terms of that's where they put the shamus for the
Right.
So that's something which is it's not waste. The opposite. You have to bury it with respect. You have to bury it in a proper way. That's
right.
It's really storage. So ginzei is really storage.
Oh, the storage.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah, usually waste is not usually stored. Waste is usually disposed of somehow, right? That's one of the miracles of modern society, right? We have all our waste. We soon forget about it, and we don't even know where it goes to. You ever think about where all the waste goes to? What happens to it?
The Geniza?
No. I'm talking about just garbage waste.
Oh, the garbage dumps? Oh yeah, that's a big ecological issue.
Right.
Those garbage dumps are all over the place, and they give off bad chemicals. They pollute the air, they pollute the ground, they get into the groundwater.
That's the nature of a waste, right? That's what waste is all about.
That's right.
Waste is waste. But if you want to try and reduce it a bit, you can, but you can't. That's the way it goes. What goes down must come out. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah, it's Yeah, that's part of life. You gotta, but Geniza is not, it's something that has to be stored away, right?
Right. Yeah, I took a bunch of Geniza once to a cemetery
Right,
where they bury it for you for a fee.
right.
So I have a note here that says that 10,000 kikar of silver is the equivalent of $380 million.
800, okay,
So here we have Haman, who we said that 11 years ago he was a slave to Mordecai. How does he get to the point where he's now practically a billionaire?
right.
He's been stealing. He steals.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We'll have to, I'm not sure. Have to see a little bit more about the relationship of Haman and his slavery to Mordecai, exactly what that entailed. I don't know. I'm not familiar with that aspect of Chazal, how much Chazal speak about that. But that would be the beginning of the answer to your question.
Right.
And if he had so much money, why couldn't he buy himself free? You know,
Yeah, that's another good point.
Maybe.
I mean, that's a huge amount of money. And then that's not all his money. That's the money he's giving to Achashverosh.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Don't know. I have to, not sure if we can find, I've never seen too much about that particular point. I'm not sure where and how much is actually available in terms of what we know about that relationship. Um, I'll see. I'll see if anything comes up. I'm not, okay. Yeah, but as you said, it's a tremendous amount of money. And, he certainly apparently, again, I'm not sure how much his value was as a slave it was. I mean, how much, if he was going to buy himself back, redeem himself, how much would he have to pay to redeem himself? That I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't forget that he he um, he was asking when he sold himself as a slave to Mordecai. He was asking for provisions for his troops, right? Which
Right.
I'm sure that was no paltry sum that it was asking for, provisions for
Right.
troops.
It could have been a lot of money. Yeah, that's true. But 380 million, that wouldn't be, I still wouldn't think it would be anywhere near that much.
Yeah. Okay, that's something to think about. If there's any information about it, again, I don't know. I have to see if I can find something out about that. Leonetta. Okay, let's take another. I think we have time for another pasuk. Let's take another pasuk.
Okay. Vayasar Hamelech es tabato me'al yado v'yit na la lehaman ben Hamdasa ha'agagi tzorer haYehudim. So the king, Vayisar, he removed his ring
Right. Good. Very good.
from his hand, and he gave it to Haman, son of Hamdasa, the Agagite, the enemy of the Jews.
Right. Oh, okay, so here we have this is a major change in the in what's happening here in the Megillah. This is now the beginning of the Gezerah.
Right.
Um, 1 second. So now Haman has been given the reshus and the ability to do what he pleases now. Okay. Let's continue.
Vayomer Hamelech leHaman hakesef nasun lach v'ha'am la'asos bo katov be'enecha. And the king said to Haman, the silver keep for yourself, and the nation do with it as is good in your eyes. So this is very surprising to me, because despite what it says in the Megillah and what the way it appears, usually people portray Achashverosh as being a pretty bad guy. And not only that, but somebody who's kind of crude and greedy and a ruffian. And now he's saying, the $380 million, I'm not worried about that. You keep it.
Right.
That seems completely out of character.
Right. So you're basically asking, why didn't he keep the money? Right.
Why wasn't the money the big motivating factor here? I mean, the argument that Haman made, these people are dispersed and they don't follow your laws, it's kind of weak. It's not,
right.
not an extremely powerful argument. But,
right.
and by the way, I'm going to give you $380 million. That seems to be quite strong.
Right.
And yet, Achashverosh turns around and says, "Don't worry about the money. Just do what you want with those Jews."
Right. So they use this as a proof that Achashverosh was just as, if not even more, of a Jew hater than Haman was, because he didn't need the money to be convinced. Right? Don't think that Achashverosh was doing this simply because he was being bribed by Haman to give him the reshus to do what he wished with the Jews. No, he was happy to do it for free. He didn't need money to be convinced to do this.
Right.
So they actually use this as a insight into the real depth of the rishus of Achashverosh.
Right. Well, that makes a certain amount of sense if we take it out of context. But
right.
if we consider it in the whole context of the story, we know that Achashverosh is going to execute Haman. He's going to elevate Mordecai. He's going to give all of that wealth to Mordecai and Esther, and he's going to basically allow the Jewish people to kill all of the Amalekites.
Right.
So that doesn't seem like the actions of an anti-Semite.
So we're gonna have to see. The Gemara goes into this in detail. Actually, it was a very close call. I mean, there had to be many miracles, which we will see in here throughout the Megillah. Many miracles had to take place to make it that Achashverosh did what he did. Meaning it required miracles to have the outcome of the Megillah happen as it did. Otherwise, it would have been if just left to the way that Haman and Achashverosh were planning, it would have been the worst thing that could have happened. And there were many miracles that had to be wrought in order to have Achashverosh do many things that he would not normally have done. Because as you mentioned, the things that he did were so out of character for him. Killing Haman, making Mordecai the Mishnah Melech, and giving him the all the things that were happening were miraculous, because that was not at all what Achashverosh was intending. Right? His whole intention was to do the worst, even worse than Haman. So actually, maybe make a note. Maybe we'll start talking about this a little bit more tomorrow. Stop here for a few minutes, and maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow. About the many miracles that have to take place in order to make it that Achashverosh did something which is so out of character for him. Because the outcome of the Megillah is completely contradicting to what Achashverosh had wanted and planned. And Haman was really just coming in as an assistant, right? The real villain is Achashverosh, but he's a little bit more passive than Haman. But the real villain is Achashverosh.
So I wrote down that we should discuss miracles that altered Achashverosh's actions.
Right. Okay, good. Remind us to start with that tomorrow, Brendan.
Yimitz Hashem.
Okay, very good. We'll take a short break here.
All
Roy,
right. Thank you, Rabbi.
you're welcome. And we'll see
Yeah.
you. And Roy, you should have a good afternoon. Hope to see you tomorrow.
Man, likewise. Thank you very much.
Have a good one, Roy.
You too. See you later, perhaps.
Yimitz Hashem.
Mm.